मैं जानना चाहता हूँ पवन का विजन फॉर इंडिया 2047 क्या है?
You're now making me a politician to get my vision. Vision for 2047 would be we are living in peace, we are living in prosperity, we are living in happiness, and there is also cohesion in the society. The growth has to be uniform and equal.
Is India a rich country with poor people or we are a poor country with rich people?
What do I say? You're putting me so much on the spot.
Have you ever broken a traffic rule and blamed it on testing a pilot? So,
DPI works at population scale. The way I have understood was Lego blocks.
okay.
You take Lego blocks, and Lego blocks are like building units, right? Basically,
Yes.
if we both are given same set of Lego blocks,
Yes.
I may build a car, you may build a rocket. DPI is like that. These problems are so complex. इसमें citizens को भी participate करना पड़ेगा. Congestion is only the symptom we are talking about. But what is really not working? I feel we need to bring this discourse shift. I think we are in once in a generational shift in centuries.
Hi everyone. आज के शो में हमारे गेस्ट हैं पवन मुलुकुटला. ही इज़ द एग्जीक्यूटिव डायरेक्टर ऑफ इंटीग्रेटेड ट्रांसपोर्ट एट WRI इंडिया. आज के शो में हमने उनसे काफ़ी बातें करी, काफ़ी सारे मिथ बस्ट किए, हमने उनके विजन 2047 के बारे में जाना और एक बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग चीज़ भी, हाउ टू नेविगेट इन द गवर्नमेंट सिस्टम. काफ़ी इंटरेस्टिंग होगा आप सब लोगों के लिए और दोज ऑर्गेनाइजेशन विच वांट टू टॉक टू गवर्नमेंट एजेंसीज, विच वांट टू टॉक टू गवर्नमेंट ब्यूरोक्रेट्स और सब मिनिस्ट्रीज. तो ज़रूर देखना इस एपिसोड को. आई एम वेरी श्योर यू विल लाइक इट. पवन का मोस्ट फ्रस्ट्रेटिंग कम्यूट आज तक का क्या रहा है? टेल मी द सिटी विच यू वर इन और क्या हुआ, कब हुआ?
I think I'm from Bangalore, and it's not only my frustration, probably it's the frustration of everyone in Bangalore commuting, right? And the irony is, my flight travel is shorter than my travel from my home to getting to the airport. Like in Bangalore, sometimes you can get stuck for 5-6 hours, and there have been days when it has rained and then you are just in those kind of jams. So that has been kind of the frustrating moments of travel. I would say especially in Bangalore. I've also had once in Mumbai.
ओके.
And
हाउ मच टाइम डज इट टेक? नॉर्मली कितना रहता है और उस दिन कितना लगा?
normally तो 1 घंटा पकड़ के चलो.
Okay.
And then उस दिन I think 3-4 hours. It's almost 3 to 4 times of what a normal travel would be.
Wow. Great then. Okay, so our show, What's the Vision, is about Vision 2047, India 2047. तो मैं उसके साथ मैं जानना चाहता हूँ पवन का विजन फॉर इंडिया 2047 क्या है?
You're now making me a politician to get my vision. See, मेरा vision है कि not just related to mobility, right? Overall vision, I think as a country where, there is prosperity, where people's standard of living is improved, which is very likely to be, right? Our GDP is expected to be 30 trillion by 2047, which means that it's almost going to go up by 7 to 8 times in the next 20 years. So, PD, this will really mean that our incomes are really going to double and triple.
Yes.
And how does it really transform people who are in the lower middle class, socially weaker sections? Their lives are going to get better, right? So how do we ensure that ये जो growth होने वाला है वो sustainable choices से हो,
Yes.
जहाँ पे हमारा consumption कम हो, but at the same time quality of life improve हो जाए.
Yes.
I think I would really say that quality of life has to be the centerpiece with prosperity. So my vision for 2047 would be where people are have high quality of life, where they are actually living peaceful.
Yes.
They have jobs to do, and they also have recreation in terms of certain inner calling. People are able to enjoy what they want to do outside work also. So I think there are a couple of these things when you say vision, where we are living in peace, we are living in prosperity, we are living in happiness, and there is also cohesion in the society. So I would say really that's the vision, and this will be coupled with technology, with innovation, with all kinds of changes that we are seeing.
ओके. इसी उसमें अगर आप इफ़ यू आर वेकिंग अप इन अ बैंगलोर सिटी, यू आर फ्रॉम बैंगलोर एंड आप अपने ऑफिस कम्यूट कर रहे हैं या कहीं जा रहे हैं, सो हाउ वुड दैट लुक लाइक? वो कैसा होगा?
I actually spend more time in Delhi, so I would have to say that I am half Delhiite and half in Bangalore. Um, अगर मैं सुबह उठ रहा हूँ तो मेरे को ये नहीं सोचना चाहिए कि आई शुडंट बी अफ्रेड कि अरे मुझे आज जाना क्या, ऑफिस जाना क्या, मेरा कम्यूट इतना प्रॉब्लम होगा क्या. सो द फर्स्ट थॉट आई वुड रियली लाइक टू से इज यस, देयर इज good walking space available, there is easy transition to move to public transport. और फिर जब मैं पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट से उतरूँ तो फिर मुझे ऑफिस या कहीं पे भी जो भी मेरा ट्रिप पर्पस हो, आई एम हैप्पीली एबल टू डू just within the proximity of public transport. And luckily, Bangalore, where I live, the metro is going to come up in the next 3 to 4 years. So my hope is that I'll be able to hop onto the metro right from my house and then do my travel across the city.
Do you think there could be some air taxis also by that time?
I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe some of the mega cities will need, if people want to do point to point commute, then maybe we'll have to explore the air mode also. But in fact, PD, someone was saying कि अभी ये the 1-2 companies in Bangalore जो ये शुरू करने वाले हैं, and I think for 1,500 rupees or 3,000
Yes.
rupees, commute within city.
Wow. That would be really interesting.
So you'll have actually drones carrying passengers, like 1 or 2 people maybe.
Wow. That would be interesting.
I would be scared actually to get onto something like that.
दिल्ली में ऐसा हो जाए तो काफ़ी अच्छा रहेगा एक्चुअली. कम्यूटिंग फ्रॉम नोएडा टू गुड़गांव फॉर पीपल इट्स लाइक अ 2 or 3 hour जर्नी एवरी डे. तो अगर वो चेंज हो जाए और ऐसे ड्रोन से हम जा सकें तो विल बी ग्रेट. बट अ सेफर ड्रोन फॉर श्योर.
It will be great, but I think कितना complicated हो जाएगा ना. Imagine पूरा 3D में you're moving your traffic signal, सारे लोग आके वहाँ पे रुक रहे हैं, जाना है. I remember watching a movie many years back where the whole commute is happening only in airspace. So they were like signals in airspace, people are waiting and then commuting around. So I don't know how actually that will pan out.
I think Wall-E animated movie.
It was, yeah.
That was interesting. Yeah. Okay, great. And so 2047. So when we talk about that, तो citizens का क्या रोल होगा? आज हम देखते हैं कि citizen participation is that very low and will that increase? क्या वो बढ़ेगा? Is that even required?
No, absolutely. And I think if you see last 10-15 years, citizen participation काफ़ी बढ़ा है. It's improving a lot. I was reading a statistics. Even if 7 to 8% of the population starts participating, then you actually have a big shift. So it's not that you need everyone to leave everything that they're doing and just be participating in these activities.
Yes, of course.
But even that critical milestone or percentage is, I think, around 8% of the population.
Okay.
So if you actually have 8% of the population in a city participating in various, giving their input, sharing their insights and being part of this participatory process, you'll see a huge shift. And that's happening. In many cities like Bangalore, your citizens are so active. I worked in Mumbai. They're very active. And in Delhi, this week, I see like college kids, resident welfare associations, community leaders, everyone actually wanting. Because I think there is also this realization, and that way government is also equally been asking, right? Like with Prime Minister's Mission of Life mission and others, where they are saying that, how do you become part of the solution? Because these problems are so complex कि ये ऐसा नहीं है कि बस सरकार इसको सॉल्व कर सकती है. इसमें सिटीजन्स को भी पार्टिसिपेट करना पड़ेगा. एंड बहुत जगह वो सॉल्यूशंस आ रहे हैं. वेयर वी नीड टू फोकस इज हाउ डू यू टैप इनटू दिस सॉल्यूशंस इन एनर्जी, because there's so many ideas. So how do you actually get access to these ideas? And how do you create space and process for executing these ideas locally? अभी जैसे if residents welfare associations or a community in an area, we are in sector 4 here in Noida, they say that, okay, let's make some improvement. How do you actually facilitate citizens that, okay, we need certain feeder buses, we need certain pedestrian walking, I'm focusing say in mobility or certain waste management or something. Then how do you ensure their ideas are vetted in a way and the local governments are able to support the implementation? I think that then citizens will feel excited that yes,
मैंने कुछ करा है.
मैं कुछ कर रहा हूँ, कर रही हूँ, and then you can also feel that कि I'm being heard. See, in life it is very important that people want to be acknowledged for what they are actually talking about, right?
इट्स मोर ऑफ कि मेरे सपोर्ट, तो जब भी कुछ नया चेंज आया तो हमारी सुनी गई, एंड दैट इज हाउ इट बिकेम प्रैक्टिकल बेसिकली. सो दैट
Absolutely.
हेल्प्स.
Yes.
सो एक और नेट ज़ीरो ट्रांसपोर्ट, लाइक इसी बात पर, एंड आज उसकी काफ़ी बात होती है. तो 2047 इफ़ यू सी, विल दैट स्टिल रिमेन अ टर्मिनोलॉजी, या उसमें कुछ और चेंज हो पाएगा बाय दैट टाइम?
No, I think we are looking at multiple alternative fuels, right, in mobility. You have public transport है, that is also in a way moving towards net zero, right? Like
Yes.
when you're talking about जैसे मेट्रोस चल रहे हैं सिटीज़ में, अभी तो ऑलमोस्ट 25 सिटीज़ में तो मेट्रोस हैं, और 15-20 में आने वाले हैं. देन यू ऑल्सो हैव इलेक्ट्रिक बसेस जो हैं, यू हैव सीइंग 2 व्हीलर्स 3 व्हीलर्स ऑल गेटिंग इलेक्ट्रिफाइड. यू आर सीइंग हाइड्रोजन पोटेंशियल इन लॉन्ग हॉल, जैसे ट्रक्स में लॉन्ग डिस्टेंस के लिए. एंड not just within cities, we are also talking about कि एविएशन को कैसे डिकार्बनाइज किया जा सकता है, मेरीन सेक्टर, शिपिंग सेक्टर को कैसे डिकार्बनाइज किया जा सकता है. सो ई फ्यूल्स, देयर सो मेनी ऑल्टरनेटिव फ्यूल्स आ रहे हैं अभी. एंड आई थिंक वी विल नीड टू अप्रोच अ मिक्स ऑफ दिस सॉल्यूशंस, like short haul within city, for example electrification works. Then for little city regional connectivity, public transportation plays a big role. So there's different modes and combination of fuels. These two together mix will actually help us by 2047 to look at what should be the urban mobility solutions in a city. So I strongly believe that we can't adhere to only saying that this will work and that will work, especially in India, right? We will, because we are not just a car centric society. We actually have 70% is two-wheeler population. And if you look by more choice, people traveling, many of our big cities have huge public transport share, like 40%, 50%, 60%. So the focus has to be on, of course, moving towards net zero, but at the same time improving the quality of your commute.
That's very important actually. काफ़ी लोगों को शिफ्ट भी करना है पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट में.
Absolutely.
एंड अगर वो क्वालिटी इंप्रूव होगा तभी हो पाएगा.
It should not be like by force.
Yes.
It should be by pushed. Yes, it should be by my choice, right? It should be so attractive that मुझे ऐसा लगना चाहिए कि चलो मैं चल के निकलने वाला हूँ, मैं बस में जा रहा हूँ, मैं मेट्रो में जा रहा हूँ, मैं सबअर्बन रेल में जा रहा हूँ. ये सब मेरे को ऑप्शंस इतने ईजी होने चाहिए कि that become my number one option, and
that's my preferred option.
That's my preferred option, not because I'm forced, because of my cost choice, because of my affordability and accessibility.
That's awesome. So इतना सब कुछ ट्रांजिशन हो रहा है इंडिया में, या होगा बाय 2047, अगेन वी से दैट. सो ओवरऑल इंडियन इकोनॉमी अगर देखा जाए 2047 में, तो कितना इम्पैक्ट उस पर होगा? व्हाट न्यू चेंजेस वुड यू सी? And not just transport, but on a bigger level.
I think we are in once in a generational shift in centuries, because you're talking about the whole energy transition which is happening. It's across all sectors, right? From industries to hard to abate sectors, to mobility, to building, to shipping, to aviation, to agri. You're seeing this transition throughout.
Yes.
And India is sitting at the forefront of all this energy transition, right? It's across every sector we are talking about, even from renewables integration to everything that is happening. It's actually just fascinating. And I would really say that it's a big opportunity for creating a self-reliant society in a way.
Yes.
It's opportunity for strengthening our manufacturing. Because what we have observed, because of the current geopolitics and trade challenges and everything that we are talking about, we are seeing that manufacturing has to become the strong base for us, right? And I think I see lot of push in that direction. Even yesterday there was this whole mission on critical minerals that was launched. So we are talking about bringing this new age technologies and creating that whole manufacturing shift which India very much needs. See, we are such a big domestic market, PD, that not only export, we also have internally to consume also, right?
Yes.
We have such a strong base. So we need to cater to 1.5 billion plus population. So that itself is huge for us. So there's huge opportunities. I really see that net zero for us, 2047, the Viksit Bharat mission, all this coming, they're actually very, very aligned because it's talking about strengthening our foundational agri base, right? Like our food processing centers, you're improving that. At the same time, we are urbanizing.
Yes. We are.
And you then see how does it really sit in the context of everything that is happening. And then we are talking about sustainable growth, green growth. So I feel these are not isolated trajectories, right? These all have to be aligned, and that is how we are actually seeing the government is looking at it, the civil society is really looking at it. I feel it's very, very aligned in the way we are approaching.
So we are actually moving towards that direction now.
Yes.
और हर एक विजन का एक हो सकता है पॉसिबल डार्क साइड भी हो सकता है, बट वी नीड टू बी रेडी फॉर इट. हम हमेशा कहते हैं कि वी शुड डू दिस एंड एवरीथिंग विल बी सो शाइनी, एवरीथिंग विल बी ग्रेट, बट इज देयर एनी डार्क साइड दैट यू सी एंड वी शुड बी रेडी फॉर दैट?
I wouldn't say dark side, but something that we need to be cautious is that um, the growth has to be uniform and equal.
Yes.
So we still have people living on, where their annual income is like anywhere between 1 to 2 lakhs, right? So how do you improve their quality of life, and how do we ensure that they are not left behind? And it's not that this growth is only benefiting few segments of the society. So I think that we really have to be conscious, and this is where I feel the whole digital infrastructure, public infrastructure, the technology can play a strong role, because this is where then you can make it very inclusive through, how do you ensure that the schemes are very targeted, job opportunities are being created for people that we do, the skilling is also available. So I think all this has to be thought through. Otherwise, what will happen, PD, is that we will end up with certain segment of the society benefiting,
Yes.
and the variation that we will have will be so huge, which we don't want to get into.
मैं एक्चुअली कल ही कहीं ये सुन रहा था, मतलब somebody was quoting this, is India a rich country with poor people or we are a poor country with rich people? So
I'm not getting into that debate, but I would really say that uh, let's make. I know India is very rich by heart. People are very generous, and are as a community. That's our culture and tradition of making it coming together and make it inclusive. So we are rich in that sense. But I would really say that this growth that is happening should benefit the bottom of the pyramid as well. I think then we really can say that we have uplifted everyone together. So that should be the way we should be looking at.
ऐसा कोई नंबर है पर कैपिटा इनकम दैट यू सी कि इतना होना चाहिए and it will be
See,
useful?
I don't have any specific number, but simple numbers I'll throw, right? We are at $2,500 per capita income on an annual basis. Now you're talking about, we are a 4 trillion economy roughly. We're talking about a 30 trillion economy. So we're talking about growing by 7 times. When you're talking about growing by 7 times, even in the next 3-4 years, we are talking about 2,500 becoming 5,000. We'll at least double in the next 3 to 5 years.
Yes.
How do we ensure that the bottom of the pyramid is getting this benefit? So that's one thing. And when we're talking about this transformation, I mean, imagine you're talking about 2 to 3 times the per capita is going to go up. And my question is, what all can happen because of that? It's not, of course, we are going to talk about the basics of housing and access to facilities and all that. That's perfectly fine. But how do you really talk about the opportunities it can create and the innovation it can bring? Like, people will have such extra income for disposal, right? You're basically saying that when you're talking about income levels going up by 3 times, then you're saying that people are going to do something with that. And the question is, how do we actually tap into this in terms of innovation, in terms of opportunities, in terms of doing so many things. I think we really need to think. I feel very upbeat and optimistic the way we are talking about, because for me, just this is fascinating. Per capita income is going to just double, triple in the next 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
Itself is a huge opportunity, right?
Yes. सो काफ़ी कुछ बदल जाएगा, काफ़ी कुछ बदल सकता है, आई एम वेरी श्योर। एंड आई थिंक इंडिया भी 2047 विल सी अ ग्रेट ग्रेट इंडिया। एक 2047 का हेडलाइन जो विच विल ब्रिंग स्माइल टू पवन्स फेस दैट डे।
I'm already smiling, but what do I say? You're putting me so much on the spot. What will be the smile? Um, where I would say that, the smile is that we see there hardly any crime rates are gone down. There's no social unrest, and then where we are performing top notch in terms of quality of life indexes and all that, health. I
यस।
would really say that should be uh, our motto, in terms of saying that we are growing, but we are also becoming a leader in the whole, not just global south, but globally, where we are saying that the path to development is through the India model,
वाह।
which is the green growth, and where we are also putting every global citizen at the center of this development.
वाह,
To
दैट्स
me, that would really mean that yes, we care for people, we care for climate, we care for nature. So all these three coming together.
I don't generally ask this to my guest, but anything that you want to see, any two things that and a headline that you would never want to see in 2047 again.
um, yes, I would really say one thing would be on gender parity.
Okay.
We are able to, this topic is very close to my heart, in terms of, we really discount how women are contributing, in terms of even taking care as a big function. Care is really associated almost 90 to 95% with women.
Yes.
So how do we ensure that they are part of this transition, not just as beneficiaries, but also contributing to this? And can we actually create different models of growth where you're also making women as part of this whole initiative, in terms of opportunities, in terms of I was really fascinated, PDA, with this 1 2 data points, right? Like 20% of the trips are typically related to work
Yes.
in a day, right? 20 to 25%. And almost the same number of trips are related to what women typically do related to care. It's called mobility due to care, and yet we don't really account that,
That
because we have kept GDP as our measure, right, which is fine in certain extent. But when we really start integrating care, and because if you remove that, then the society, it's a very existence of our society, right? So when you start thinking of that, then you'll also think, how do you actually create different models in which can you improve skills, can you create opportunities where around where women live around,
yes.
and providing that. This was, when I was in Bogota 2 years back. It was fascinating. Keeping this as fundamental, the mayor there launched this initiative where they started creating these facilities around transit hubs
Okay.
for people to sharpen their skills, and then the local government would provide that opportunity where they could step away from their home for 3 to 4 hours in a day,
Ah.
and they could, and this is not just only on women, people who didn't have that access to, and their mobility was impaired in a way, or they were not able to, say for example, someone didn't learn swimming, someone didn't complete their certain skill sets, they were not able to graduate, they were not able to learn certain things. There was this whole community initiative which was done around transit hubs for people to actually sharpen their skills, make them more be available and ready in market for opportunities. So I thought that's the kind of imagination we need when we are talking about moving the society
That is
together.
indeed very interesting, actually. And if something can happen in India by that time, will be really
Oh,
nice.
it will be
Great to
really
see that.
good to see that. Absolutely.
अब हमने विजन तो बना लिया है, व्हाट आर द स्टेप्स टू रीच देयर? हम क्या ऐसा कर सकते हैं कि एक ब्लूप्रिंट या रोड मैप हम बना सकें?
It's already happening, PDI. अगर आप देखोगे, like in terms of the number of schemes that have come together at the national level, at the subnational level, in many of the sunrise sectors, what is happening, right? We are talking about transformation across the board, and it's really good to see how the national government, the central government, and the state governments are working in tandem to really make this happen. Otherwise, and specifically look even what's happening in EV, e-mobility, what's happening with hydrogen, what's happening in the whole renewable space. There's whole critical minerals, the PLI schemes, the manufacturing. If you see, there's been so much thrust given, and there's a recognition that India needs to do, even in chip manufacturing, right?
Yes.
Even the other day, I was reading that we're going to produce our own
Yes.
chip, and
Chips.
then we are also talking about rare earth magnets using ferrite, different options. So there is that, now I can sense that energy and that willingness to say that, how do we really solve problems at population scale. So I think that one is ambition,
Yes.
and then one is this impetus that is coming from government push, because that will then trigger the private sector interest, the startups, the innovation. I mean, we are one of the largest startup economy in the world with solutions coming. And when you see even how the solutionings have come, we were actually more a service oriented startups initially, right?
Yes.
Many of them. But now you see it's actually
Product owner.
product oriented, and there's a lot of transition, because there is a recognition that if we are talking about the shift, we really also need to make in India for the world. One is for India as well to
Yes.
consume, but also to really put it out in the world. And I think this whole notion that it was always driven by West in the global North has considerably shifted, and there's a recognition even in global community that India has much more to offer, and actually we are pushing ourselves. In terms of roadmaps, I would say one is
So
government.
possibly maybe if you can talk about 2030, अगर हम एक छोटा milestone ले, the three things India should do by that time ताकि ये vision with should be within reach and should not go.
So I would say we're already looking at two, three things. One is, I feel we have talked about which an initiative by Niti Aayog led, right? And then Government of India also in the budget earlier this year announced the growth hubs,
Okay.
which is really looking at focusing on cities and the region around the cities as a center for economic development. So, unless we bring the whole element of economic development coupled with quality of life, I think these two we are doing that right
Yes.
now, right? So, we're talking about how can Surat become an X trillion economy, how can Vishakhapatnam, Mumbai. So, there's a huge focus now, city by city.
City
So, I think
specific.
that is really good, where we are talking about city discovering what is its competitiveness,
Okay.
what is its global offer. So I feel fascinated. I think there's some commitment of 1 lakh crores that's being invested, and I think already in this budget some allocation was done for this growth hub. So we really need to look at it. For example, Bangalore has a lot of this whole R&D and around biotech, around startups. Surat would be textile and diamonds. So Mumbai is fintech, and so there's every city has its own thing
Own.
to offer, and for us to really recognize how do we elevate our cities at the global platform with certain ambition.
Okay.
Then you need to really do this whole economic development plans that we are really talking about, right? And which is happening right now. How do you move towards realizing this vision? What are those strategic projects, initiatives that we need to focus on? Then, of course, comes capacities within the government systems, capacities in the private sector, and then how do you leverage private finance capital to really make this transitions happen. So I feel this is kind of the pathway that we are talking at a very macro level in terms of how we are going to move
To
towards that 2047 vision with 2030. So I really feel this whole economic development is one of the major pathways to really, I would say, economic development and a combination with eco city,
okay.
because you want economic development, but you want your cities also to be vibrant spaces where people like to live, to work, to walk, to commute, to go to access to opportunities, healthcare, jobs, education, recreation. All this really has to come together. So eco city regions is what we would say, and then economic development is integrated into this. I would say that is the pathway for us, and we are kind of moving in that direction by
So when we build this, तो ये एक satisfaction भी है लोगों के लिए, because I am living in such sort of a city that it's great to live in. So
It is. The challenge we are facing is, PD, that there is this vision, there is a pathway that is happening,
yeah,
but we also need to focus at the individual choice. How is the life improving?
improve it. Yes.
I feel that is the gap we are coming, and that's for us it becomes very important to strengthen local governments.
Yes.
We have three-tier system, right? Unless we have local governments, mayors, city councils being strengthened and taking this initiative, it will be a challenge. Because yes, I am proud of my city, what's happening in Bangalore, but my problem lies within my neighborhood. Can I even move 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers? I don't want to be seeing waste being dumped.
Yes.
So, and how do you ensure that there's no water scarcity and we're not just getting tankers to really fill up for water usage, right? So I feel when this whole economic development is happening, we really need to bring this whole thinking of eco-city thinking, which is basically how do you create this sustainability within the city where an individual also is able to contribute and also has choices of being on this sustainable trajectory.
वेरी नाइस. हमारी ट्रांसपोर्ट में, ये तो सिटी लिविंग के लिए हो गया, हमारे ट्रांसपोर्ट में काफ़ी आजकल देखा जाए तो काफ़ी हॉट टॉपिक है. अगेन EVs आर वेरी हॉट, राइट? डू यू स्टिल सी, इज दैट दी हॉट टॉपिक, इज दैट समथिंग दैट विल चेंज, और इज देयर एनी अदर, कोई और भी क्या गेम चेंजर है विच इज़ नॉट बीइंग टॉक्ड अबाउट टुडे बट हो सकता है कि काफ़ी बड़ा बन सके?
You talked about it. You said we'll be in air taxes.
Yeah.
No. In the अगर आप urban areas में देखें, I'm focusing only on cities
Yes,
right now.
for now, yeah.
वहाँ पे electrification now is an irreversible trend. Because this is not just India's trend, right? ये तो globally चल रहा है अब सब जगह.
Yes, yes. It's
You
not.
can say talking about where many countries have reached like tipping points. For example, Norway and all. Of course, it's only a car centric where we're talking about 85-90%. But
Yes.
you look at EU, you look at US. You're talking about already 15% EV adoption, 20% EV adoption. India, of course, this year is close to 8%, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, 8%. Look at the volumes then.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like in millions.
Yeah.
So,
Easily. Yeah.
वो ट्रांजिशन तो हो ही रहा है. सो इलेक्ट्रिफिकेशन ऐसा नहीं है कि कि एंड वी आर ऑल्सो गियरिंग अप कि हम एक्सपोर्ट मार्केट कैसे बन सकते हैं ना. हम 2 करोड़ 2 व्हीलर्स हर साल बेचते हैं, राइट? सो इट्स अ ह्यूज वॉल्यूम्स व्हेन यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट कार्स, व्हेन यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट 2 व्हीलर्स. सो ऐसा नहीं है कि वी आर इन आइसोलेशन, वी आर इन इंटरकनेक्टेड मार्केट. सो इलेक्ट्रिफिकेशन तो होने वाला है. इट्स गोइंग टू, द पेस विल डिपेंड अपॉन द जियो पॉलिटिक्स एंड ऑल दैट, बट दिस इज अ ट्रेंड दैट वी क्लियरली सी, इज आई क्लियरली सी इज इन हैपनिंग इन इलेक्ट्रिफिकेशन.
Okay. How will India fund this transition? You talked about cities. आपने ट्रांसपोर्ट की भी बात करी. How will overall India fund? I am thinking ये तो within at least not thousands of crore but lakhs of crores.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, there was a recent World Bank report, right, which said that almost India still needs to build 50 to 60% of the infrastructure is yet to be built.
Oh, wow.
So this is like trillions of dollars of investments, and it's not about the issue of the funds alone, right? So there's multilaterals, then there is this whole intergovernmental funding, and then there are lot of opportunities, and within also government also invests, right? Like within, if you see all the schemes that we are talking about in the last, just forget all other schemes. In e-mobility, we have seen investment of 1 lakh crores by both national government and subnational, with major component coming from the national government.
Wow.
In the last, we were
Yes.
doing numbers 8 to 10 years मान के चलिए आप. तो उसमें इतना इन्वेस्टमेंट तो इस सेक्टर में ही हो रहा है, तो बाकी सेक्टर में तो लाखों करोड़ों में इन्वेस्टमेंट तो हो ही रहा है. So it's not that governments are not doing. What we need to create is a bankability of the projects, and how do we create de-risking mechanisms.
Yes.
And so that is happening. I mean, it's really looking at what is the potential, how do you really make it happen, how do you make projects viable, and how do you even tap into a lot of these pension funds, How do you get into a, equity capital getting infused into the economy for all this? And then of course the VC funds. So there are so many different sources of funding that India
Is
is
getting.
in that way positioned, right? Because you have VC fund coming, in a way startups are able to test the solutions and they're doing this piloting and all that. Then you have all these other funds coming for scale up and looking at it. And I think this is the good part, right? Like, how do you create this blended financing
Yes.
that becomes an opportunity to for de-risking? I would really say, de-risking mechanism is something to really closely look at. Whether when we were even doing this whole electric bus with CESL, that was the thing, right? How do you de-risk? Then there was this payment security mechanism that came up. See, incentives are okay, but you also have to create this de-risking mechanism, then your funding becomes attractive. That access to funding, the cost of getting the funding, all this becomes cheaper.
सो इंडिया ने एक्चुअली काफ़ी सारे डीरिस्किंग मैकेनिज्म एज यू सेड देखे हैं, नई नई स्कीम्स भी आई हैं, इनोवेटिव स्कीम्स भी आई हैं, और उनको और बेहतर करने के लिए ग्रेजुअली वी हैव एक्चुअली मूव्ड
Yeah,
टुवर्ड्स.
we have to,
सो
and you have to learn.
यस.
The question is, how fast are we
हाउ
able to
फास्ट.
pivot and learn market से समझ के, and then how is the response? How do you make it attractive enough for private sector to participate? And at the end of the day, they are in the business of making money.
यस.
So we need to, I mean, ensure that they're able to discover that money back that
Of
flows,
course.
right? So that's how it really works.
And I think we are in a good stage and we are in the process of doing that
Yeah.
already. Okay. इतनी सारी चीज़ें होने वाली हैं इंडिया में, इतना सारा ट्रांजिशन होगा, डेटा, काफ़ी सारे लोग इस पे बहुत बातें करते हैं, even AI, right? But data, and you've been advocating or you've been talking about, I would say, digital public infrastructure a lot. Tell us more about it. ये कैसे चेंज करेगा इस इंडिया के ट्रांजिशन को?
No, I feel, DPI, digital public infrastructure, or now I'm also hearing the term UDI, which
Okay,
is
what?
unified digital infrastructure.
Okay.
Because it's not just public infrastructure; it can be
Mix of
also
things.
private initiative, right? So we are also hearing about the UDI. What I would say is this DPI or UDI would be a game changer. No, it's something, I'm going to oversimplify it,
Please do. Yeah.
that it is something like this, right? When internet came in, PD,
Okay.
there is not one owner of internet, right? We said we'll adhere to HTTP protocols,
Yes.
and then there was this different decentralized nodes where there was multiple multi connections that were happening through this. I see DPI has that potential. You define, it's like the funnel. The funnel's stem is very, very small, but that kind of lays the um, standard for what your supply is, what your demand is, and then how do you ensure that there is this matchmaking happening. See, with what we have done with our payment systems, right?
Yes.
Who would imagine that we'll be doing billions of transactions on digital,
Yeah.
and how accessible and easy it has become, reducing that friction, ability to really do multiple transactions instantly.
Yes.
So we have to think of when DPI works at population scale. Remember, its
Okay.
fundamental principles is on the principles of interoperability, trust, security. So all these principles together make DPI really happen. The way I have understood was Lego blocks.
Okay.
You take Lego blocks, and Lego blocks are like building units, right? Basically,
Yes.
if we both are given same set of Lego blocks and we have said that build something, we're going to use those Lego blocks and build something of our own imagination,
Yes.
and it will create different products in a way.
Yes.
I may build a car, you may build a rocket, or you may build some alien, whatever will happen, right? So what we are saying is, and what is the common in the Lego blocks? The structure
Joy.
of the block, the unit block itself, in terms of it is width, its length, its height, the projections it has, the different elements it brings, those are all kind of standardized in a way, right?
Yes.
And then you say now you bring your creativity to solve for specific problems. DPI is like that. That can you create this whole um, shared infrastructure based upon common understanding of certain standards, certain protocols, and then you lay this layer, and then you let innovation and applications come on top of it. I'm always fascinated by this, right? When UPI came in, you'll see a lot of innovations came on top of it. Like, for example, someone didn't know if transaction was happening or not. They built this announcement app, right? Like certain stores have abhi 150 credit ho gaya aapke account pe. When you go to shops.com, right? That's actually an
Yes.
innovation someone built. But
Sound box, you're saying?
yeah, soundbox.
Yeah.
The core was you created this whole UPI pipes for, like, for you and me to transact from your bank account, any bank.
Anyway, yeah.
There was a pipeline which came, and then it came to my bank account to be able to interact, and then it went back to you, right? So that happened. But on top of it, see the innovations that have come. The soundbox announcement came, then static QR code came where you could just scan and do it.
Yeah.
Then different languages came. So all this, and then this integration came across multiple platforms, right? That is the potential of how DPI. You create very minimalistic standards, build protocols, and then you see that you create these pipes of connecting. Now this is same thing happening with energy. Like, so India is fortunate to have so much solar. Now you have all these rooftop solars.
Yes.
You and I can produce energy.
Yes.
We can sell energy also.
Yes.
Now there's something called DEG, digital energy grid, that is being created, and this is something, FIDE, which is Bangalore based entity organization, working in collaboration with IE, and then they came up with this whole DEG, which is basically saying that, if everyone imagine has the potential to produce and sell energy, how do you enable it to solve problem of energy? Because I can, if I'm a low consumer, I can, through my RE installation, rooftop solars, I can get the energy. Now all you have to do is create digital infrastructure for someone to be able to sell that energy and for someone to buy. So the selling buying part we have. All you need is the metering stuff and the enabling infrastructure to really do this. So you're talking about solving problems at scale. I always say this, population scale, across different sectors. This is also with, in farmers with agri, they have been doing some pilots. It was fascinating. Like, how do you actually bring farmers to be able to sell their produce through these digital platforms onto this FPOs?
Wow.
So the use cases are so huge. We are exploring something in mobility,
Yes.
where we are saying that, what if you're able to get all these private operators? I'm just throwing this one use case in my mind. Multiple private operators coming together using shared infrastructure, and they have this ability to really use common infrastructure, and this really, and they're ready to go digital in their ticketing, and this will then help them unlock capital at low cost, and then the shared cost itself, based upon certain standards that you're talking about, would really make their businesses viable. So
Right.
basically you're saying, I'll increase the size of the market, the pie, the cake piece, right? It's not this, I'll make it
Big.
huge.
Yeah.
And in that process there's business opportunity for everyone who is actually becoming, want to be part of this
Yes.
DPI journey, and at the same time you're solving problem for masses.
Yeah.
Same with charging infrastructure today. It's happening already. Thousands of transactions, I think. This is not the latest number. This was probably 6 months back. I think they were doing 10, 20,000 transactions just based upon this
Simple QR
DPI.
code. So simple QR code, just do that transaction.
That is only the payment part, but I'm saying that this
The
payment,
network that we are creating.
yes,
Yeah.
the DPI is all about creating this digital infrastructure. You need to have the DPGs, the digital public good layers already in place,
Yes.
and then you bring this whole infrastructure, and then you build the for payment is one part of the problem, right? But in mobility, then you have scheduling issues that you want to solve. You want to solve the battery health data. Imagine if this battery health data was available to financiers, and they knew that which battery is doing what, and they had, then actually people, operators will be able to get access to finance because they're able to put out this information, and it actually helps in creating new insurance products. It can help in creating de-risking mechanisms. So I feel India has this huge potential to revolutionize DPI, which started around G20. And I was told recently that some or the other pilots and conversations are happening in more than 40 countries around this DPI.
Very nice.
And I feel there is possibly a way that it can solve some parts of the problem at population scale.
दिस वॉज रियली इंटरेस्टिंग. आई थिंक डेटा आज तक लोग इतना बोलते थे, सब कुछ ट्रेंडिंग टॉपिक है, बट दिस वॉज रियली इंटरेस्टिंग, स्पेशली द लेगो ब्लॉक्स दैट यू टॉक अबाउट टू टेल अस कि डिजिटल पब्लिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर कैसे काम करेगा. दिस वॉज रियली इंटरेस्टिंग. डू यू वांट टू, इफ यू वांट टू मेक अ टीम, like we call the Avenger team that you want to make, and 3 people that you have to choose from India currently to build this, who will those be? You can take any names. Yeah.
You should be one of them.
Oh, I'll be very happy for that.
No, I don't think it's not something I would choose. I think it's the minds coming together. And we already have, internally at WR where we are collaborating. This is not something where you can say that, I will choose and I'll bring together. It is something where people are coming together, and I already see this happening in ecosystem. With the use cases that I'm seeing and the kind of people we are interacting with, it's naturally happening, PD.
Wow. So we already have the team of Avengers in process.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Great then. Thanks, Pawan, for those information. I have a small bonus segment here for the users this time.
I'm scared now.
Oh, no, it should not be. So we call it hot, hype, or historic. So I'm throwing you some mobility specific questions, and you can keep them as one segment. Hot, it's very trending. Hype, it is trending, but it's not of not much use. And historic is something that is a long-term game.
Okay.
So you can bracket or give them as brackets. So here, have we start? E-rickshaws.
Hot.
Solar integrated buses.
Hype.
Carbon token for mobility trips.
Historic.
Smart city dashboard.
It's hot. I would say it's actually outdated now with the DPI will coming in.
Okay. Outdated, I would say. Yeah. Battery swapping for electric cars. Cars.
Battery swapping. Hype.
Universal QR ticketing across public transport.
Hype. I think it's already happening, BD.
Hydrogen fuel cell buses in public transport.
I would say hot.
Smart traffic signals powered by AI.
Somewhere between hot and hype. Or rather hype and historic, because we've been hearing about this for a very long time.
Net zero by 2070.
That's hot. Everything is because being driven by that, right?
And a under 5 lakh rupees electric car.
I would say hot.
Now I really want to move, and this is a very special segment that we have for users. हम इसको कहते हैं reality reboot, myth busting session on climate, EVs and different things that we are saying. तो पहला क्वेश्चन मेरा हमेशा यही रहता है, और this is what we have seen, EV equal to not zero. Do you see that there is the right narration, or do you see a different narrative that needs to be built up?
I think there are enough studies. EV, even with, I hear what you're saying, right? Like with fossil-based charging.
Yes.
Still they emit the emissions emitted are much lower compared to your ICE vehicles. So I would say that's a myth that, EVs are not clean. They are much cleaner. But here one more thing also, PD, we need to understand that we are going through multiple transitions, right? Energy transition, different sector by sector. So what you see is, in the first phase, we are talking about tailpipe emissions getting reduced to zero.
Okay.
Then we will see that we are moving it onto a cleaner energy. Now, a lot of times we say that कि अच्छा दोनों simultaneously करो. ऐसा नहीं होगा, because एक इंडस्ट्री का अपना अपना own transition का time होता है. So transport is at a faster pace.
Okay.
जब energy transition होना, because there you have to get into the grids, the policy, the electricity, there's so much, right? So the transition is going to be little longer, I would say. Okay. So let's not confuse the two transitions. of the mobility industry. Of course, it's a subset of the energy transition, no doubt about it. But within us as well, it's like different paces.
Different, yeah.
Therefore, I would say it's a myth.
Okay. Again, range anxiety. आपको क्या लगता है? Is that something a bottleneck, or do you think it's a narrative being built by some legacy?
Thing of past.
Okay. Okay. Also on low emission zones, when we talk about, so there's a lot of hype between when we've seen कि cities थोड़ा सा move उनके ऊपर करने की कोशिश कर रही हैं. We have seen a lot of examples in global cities. Do you think India being such a crowded city, is that even possible?
See, the way we define our cities is very different from the way we define cities in West. Okay. Because for us, if you talk about cities, we are talking about, and I'm talking about mega cities, right? Like all these 10, 11 cities where the populations are going to be, are more than 4 million, literally. Low emission zones in certain pockets is possible, definitely. But I think two, three things need to happen. We need to have a very strong public transport infrastructure in place.
Okay.
Because when the alternative, viable alternative is not strong enough, if you're going to restrict certain thing, it becomes very challenging.
Yeah.
So you have to create a very strong public transport infrastructure, and of course, low emission zones is you can have walking, you can have people bringing their EVs being allowed. So that option is always there. So
Always
that really will work. And I would also say that we also need to create very strong road infrastructure and, you know, road networks in India. The quality of our roads, with very good footpaths, with very good hierarchy of streets, arterial roads, collectors, sub-collectors and all that. We really need a very good infrastructure, because if you have very broken road network systems and then you say we'll do LEZ, it becomes very unviable for decision makers to make it happen. I really want LEZs.
Okay.
But the challenge would be that for them to implement this will not happen, because you need, so these are the fundamentals, PD. One is very good, this is an impetus for, of course, EV penetration, but I would say the fundamentals is extremely strong walking, cycling, public transport infrastructure as a viable alternative present. Very good secondary road network has to be present.
Yes.
Then you are talking about, yes, let me create this LEZ zones impossible. So many organizations have done LEZs, and I keep talking to policymaker after policymaker. The challenge is they all like the plan, but the execution and the backlash they're talking about is going to be huge, because you actually don't have alternatives. That is the challenge we are in.
And any specific areas in Delhi or Bangalore do you see जहाँ ऐसा बन सकता है? Probably based in next 2-3 years you feel like could be the first pilot?
हर जगह बन सकता है.
Okay.
You bring all these elements together. NDMC
Anywhere it's possible.
has a very good area where it has good street networks and options.
Yes.
There are certain zones where you can definitely see in Delhi. Bangalore also, where you have strong infrastructure and order network. See, I'm saying that's why I don't want to comment just for the sake of saying it, right? You have to really look at the road infrastructure and network. You have to really look at the alternatives options, because you don't want people saying that, oh, I'm not able to get to my job. You don't want
That becomes a barrier.
That
Yeah,
becomes
yes.
a barrier, and it becomes a very unpopular movement for
Yes.
any decision makers to implement it,
100%.
right?
Yes.
So that is where we have to, when you're talking about LEZ, you have to look at, am I solving this problem for this commuters?
Yeah. It's just not one sort of one segment, but everybody actually should be included. Wow. इसी में एक और LEZs is one such thing. There's a lot of trending thing in happening, like free bus travel that happens in various cities in India. What's your take on it?
I think many state governments have been able to do.
Yes.
It has really created a lot of opportunities for women to travel, right? And I've seen some initial findings and data where it has helped people who didn't have options. It has increased their ability for new opportunities. So from that angle, definitely has worked. It has brought a lot of vulnerable population and socioeconomically weaker sections to be able to take benefit. So I would say it's really benefited, but I would also say that states have to fund this on a consistent basis and not create a narrative that it is creating losses to transport undertakings, right? Why would it be a loss? It's an economic opportunity for citizens, right? And you're focusing specifically on women. So I would really say that it has to become a long term policy which is funded. Then what is happening is you're saying free, and if states don't back it very strongly, then it will come across that, oh, STU sub losses में चल रहे हैं. So that narrative we really have to address.
No, on that, I see STUs anyways remain in losses. And ये एक अच्छा या बुरा बात नहीं है, but because we have also seen the ticket pricing of these buses is always very low.
So मैं तो loss word use ही नहीं करूँगा. क्योंकि that itself is actually a disservice to public transport.
Exactly.
If
It
you
needs to be cheaper.
If you leave it to them, they would increase the fare and they'll make it profitable. See,
Exactly.
it's a public good, it's a public service. So there you're not talking that making profit is my motive. It's a
Exactly.
service to the citizens.
And it's a comparison to education also. A lot of time that has been discussed. Government schools are not created for profits. So you may run that in losses also, but it's something for the...
So I would... I think
not losses again.
Even
again,
in a
it's
discourse,
not,
we shouldn't be saying losses,
Yeah.
which we both have used. I would say that it should be seen as an opportunity that you're
Exactly.
investing in.
Yes. It's an investment for that larger good that you are actually seeing.
And you only need to find mechanisms to fund it.
Fund it, yes.
But there's one thing I wanted to talk, PD, on your show was also about this big initiative that WRI India team where we are doing, and you also have been part of some of these initiatives in building it, right? Is this shift transport?
Yes.
Which is basically how do we really change this discourse on transportation and make it that everyone is able to contribute to this discourse, not just by talking, but also by finding solutions. So I don't know whether we are calling it a platform or whatever, we are still discovering it. But what we're saying as a framework is we need to really understand our supply, which is your supply of the transportation network, which includes the metro capacity, the bus capacity, the road capacities, the pedestrian walking infrastructure capacities, and all that, the supply side of it.
Yeah.
And we have been using some really cool geospatial tools at city scale to really develop this. And in fact, you have seen those maps where we have done for more than 25, 30 cities, not just in India, but globally, where we exactly know in terms of the widths, in terms of the junctions, in the nodes, everything, all that. On the other side is the demand, which is what is the demand in a city per capita? Like how many trips people want to make. See, you and I use different modes throughout the day.
Yes.
We use walking, we use public transport, we use private vehicle, we use cabs, everything, buses. How do you understand the demand and then design in getting into this transport economics, the demand and supply, and base it on performance indicators like what is my trip length, what is my travel time, what is my emissions, what are my crashes, what are my mode choices, what is my trip length, and all that in the city. I feel we need to bring back this discourse, going back to my earlier point, that more than anywhere 50%, at least as per the World Bank report, right? Like investments in India will happen in infrastructure. We really need to bring this back because I feel we don't collect the demand data enough. We don't understand the travel patterns. I would really say every 5 years, even in our urban local bodies, we mandate this household travel survey and understand the travel behavior of different segments of the population. We really then need to get this transport economics right based upon the performance indicators we're talking about. And this shift transport, then what it gives you, right, is the opportunity that if I'm a community leader, can I design my own feeder services and interact with my local government? If I'm a media house, can I really write it based upon not just the symptom? Congestion is only the symptom we are talking about, but what is really not working? I feel we need to bring this discourse shift for different segment of the population or different user groups to really make. And this is a big mission that I'm personally attracted to. I know you are personally attracted to.
Sure, yeah.
That how do you bring this shift in the transportation, not just discourse, mindset, because that will then shift the investments.
So is that something not at the top level, but till the constituency level also you're looking
We're
at?
talking about every level. It could be a community builder. It could be a academician. It's a college student wanting to do something in their neighborhood.
Yes.
It could be resident welfare associations members coming together and saying, how do we improve mobility around our neighborhood?
Yes.
It's decision makers.
No.
It is experts like us who are giving gyan all the time. So it's jokes apart, but every user has an approach. And how do we really solve problem of mobility at neighborhood scale, at corridor level, at city level, and at regional level? So we really have different use cases, and it has to be based upon democratizing data and analytics.
Okay.
That is the shift transport we are talking about.
And when can public see this live, or when can something start happening
So
on
we
this?
just released a paper
Okay.
on this, just talking about this framework on this demand, supply, and performance indicators and how we need to look. We're developing this, but we are more in this user testing phase also. So we have something as a 1.0, which is very static in nature, which really shows this maps, which you have seen. But what we're interested is how do you make it dynamic, and what is the user fit for this kind of a product, right? What is that product? Is it a brochure? Is it a visualized map? Is
Okay.
it an online platform? We ourselves are kind of discovering.
That's okay. That's being discovered, and we should soon see that live.
Yeah, we need to discover and soon land on something. But it's also something we're co-creating with so many partners, right? Like we have been speaking to more than 50 plus partners, where you have
Okay.
also been part of this discourses, right? And we really need to understand how do we really solve for different user groups.
Great then, Pawan. That was great information on some myth busting session and some myth busted on climate, sustainability, and all that. What's another interesting aspect that have from you? Like Pawan has been working with think tank called WRI India since like nearly more than a decade now, right? You've been talking to a lot of government the sector, the ministry, the agencies, the people directly, right? So it'll be very interesting for a user to understand how do you actually navigate through this system, right? Considering what are the, or let me just start with what are the biggest mistakes that you see an individual approaching to a government sector or a bureaucrat or somebody in that field? What is the biggest mistake that they are making?
I wouldn't say a mistake, but I would say it's a learning. It is basically, don't go in for, we're always very attracted and passionate about our own ideas. I think it's also important to little bit zoom out and understand how the system is really functioning, and what is it that decision makers or policy makers are interested in looking at, right? So a little bit of the context, the background, and the systems view is very important, rather than getting down to very narrow view of your details are important, but I think it's important to understand this aspect very clearly.
And let's suppose if somebody has done a small pilot, right? And now they see that the government should find a value to this, and they want to scale it up to 5 cities, 4 cities, and they want to reach out to government. What are two, three different things that they should be ready with before even approaching a government sector?
Yeah, they should come and partner with organizations like us. We'll definitely help them. But in addition to that, there's so many initiatives by government of India, right? Like they run these missions. Many ministries run their own innovation programs and challenges, and there are opportunities for them to demonstrate the solutions, and also both at the national level and at the state level. Many governments also actually create this big startup melas and innovations opportunities for them to come and present this idea. So I would say that there's been a lot of progress in approaching. These are the kind of platforms where you
Should
need to
use.
plug in.
Nice. And when you were approaching all these bureaucrats or government officials, what do you feel that what's a difference between a good and a great bureaucrat which are into this field?
I've always interacted with only great bureaucrats. There's no good or great, it's always great. We have extremely, you know, very sharp and exceptional officers that are there. And what I have seen is they are really, really passionate about wanting to solve, problems that we face, right? Whatever in their role they are doing. So I found them to be extremely listening, giving time. Even I mean, imagine they work 17 to 18 hours on a daily basis,
Yes.
and in spite of that, they do find time to interact, to get inputs, to get feedbacks, to do. We also need to learn this art of how do you create elevator pitches
Yeah.
to pitch your idea versus because your first interaction may be for just 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and then how do you get your idea across? That's why I was saying don't get so much uh, bogged down by getting into the nitty gritty in the very first meeting. How do you really find that opportunity to talk about certain thing that you're specific about? And then you always get time where they're spending 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour to really understand. So you also have to create that, demonstrate that value that you're bringing to the table, right? So that is extremely important. So I would say they are great and exceptional officers.
That was really interesting for me, and a lot of organizations which look at this episode and who are trying to reach out to government, that would give them a lot of understanding and what needs to be done. Great, right? We'll move on to our next round. It's called rapid fire, and I would ask you some questions. I would expect great answers from you as always. Uh, so let's start. I say a word, you give me your first reactions on these. Buses,
Essential.
charging,
Luxury.
Bengaluru,
Best.
range anxiety,
Past.
metro,
Present.
free transport,
Sorry.
free transport,
Free transport. Opportunity.
citizens.
Core.
Great. Which startup would you bet 10 lakh rupees on for future of urban transport? Any
I'm
startup?
creating one. I'm going to pitch to you.
Wow, great. So any users that are listening, please reach out to Pawan on that. Worst public transport experience you have had recently?
Worst. I don't remember anything worst.
That would mean everything is working well.
No, that means
Even
that,
even during the rains.
no. That would mean that there was no system to begin with, also, which was working, right?
Okay. Best Indian city for
No, yeah,
walking?
I remember now that you say. I was waiting in a busy junction for a bus in Bengaluru,
Okay.
and it's a very high frequency corridor. 45 minutes, no
No
bus.
bus.
And then I was like, okay, now I have to really take a cab. I actually was shocked because it's at the right junction where there's a metro station, where there's a mall and the residential, and it's a very high frequency. So like so surprised that how this could happen.
And the weather was also fine.
Weather was good, everything was fine. It was peak hour in the evening, so my hope was that there'll be much more higher frequency.
faster.
I waited, and after 45 minutes, I gave up and I said, okay, now I'm going to hop onto a cab.
Okay, sometimes that can happen. Best Indian city for walking
Central Delhi.
and across the globe?
Many cities, right? Like I really like Washington DC. You have very very wide footpaths and they're very well designed. I would say Oslo also. So many cities that I've traveled have very good footpaths.
So, what's one Indian city you think is about to surprise everyone in sustainable mobility?
Bengaluru
Mesh?
or Delhi. Delhi is already surprising, right? With almost so many electric buses already in place.
I think more than 2,500 now.
2,500 now, and then I'm sure that it will be 100% electrification in very few years.
Yeah. So, one policy jargon term that needs to be banned from all pitch decks.
Many, actually. Sometimes I feel that the language we use, it's probably just within our community. Many people I talk at home and they're like, what are you actually even talking? So I would say many jargons, right? Like collaboration, coalition, all this. Really, you have to make it happen.
Okay, great. Just make it happen. That's the term we should use. Your advice to young folks trying to fix transport in India?
Lot of opportunities. Ensure that you're not just get experience. Do internships. Get a flavor of what are the challenges and problems, because transport is not just about technical aspects, right? It's also design, it's human elements, it's governance. So there are multiple aspects that you need to really come. So you need to be ready with a interdisciplinary approach. because there's also behavioral economics to it. So it's multiple facet that we need. When I did transportation 25 years back, it was very, very planning and engineering focused. And when I see now, it's huge difference the way you execute and implement.
Very nice. And your most used mobility app nowadays?
I would say the Tumok, which has integrated, and Namayatri, which have integrated actually last
Various modes
mile
of transport. Yeah.
with public transport, and I find very fascinating that it's one of first of its kind in India.
Very nice. If you weren't in transport or climate, what would you be doing today?
Maybe a stand-up comedian
Wow.
or a, or a meditation teacher.
Very nice. Anything on stand-up comedian that you can say right now?
PD. You already laughed without me doing anything. That's good enough for me.
Good start then. Electric helicopters for urban mobility, future or fantasy?
I think it will be in between future and fantasy. We'll see some, but it will depend really upon safety, regulations. Many things have to be discovered, but I see its potential.
It's happening, yeah. One transport innovation that blew your mind when you saw it live?
Blew my mind when I saw it live. I would say that, seeing this whole swapping for heavy duty trucks, battery swapping, I'm like, wow, you can do it within less than 2-3 minutes. That to me is quite an innovation.
And if you were doing this podcast, who would be your first guest?
You.
Okay, thank you. That's again the stand-up comedian coming up. Yeah. Which city has the most annoying honking culture?
I think Hyderabad
Okay.
has a lot of culture, and I think a lot of the tier 2 cities where you have actually
Congestion, more
congestion,
congestion. Small
congestion
roads.
in very
small
smaller
roads, yeah.
sections where your people are honking constantly.
Have you ever broken a traffic rule and blamed it on testing a pilot?
No.
What's the most ridiculous excuse you've heard for not going electric?
It's what we discussed, right? It's not clean enough, and then range anxiety and infrastructure and all that. I find in today's time, all those are ridiculous at this point.
Which meditation activity should the young ones do regularly?
Which?
Meditation activity. Meditation, anything specific into meditation?
I would say that all of us need to do. I practice every day, twice a day, and I feel it gives you untapped energy and ability to think differently.
Nice. If climate change were a Bollywood villain, who would play that role?
So I would say maybe we'll need to bring back the Big B.
Okay, wow. So we have him as a new avatar for this. Okay.
Yeah.
Which Indian city will be first to ban petrol vehicles entirely? Your gut feeling.
I feel Delhi.
Okay, nice. EVs, buses or DPI, which will save Indian cities fastest, if done right?
I don't think this is this or that choice. They're all integrated. So I would say a combination of all.
Great. Okay, great, Pawan. It was nice having you on the show. This was great conversation we had today.
Thank you so much, and I also thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for watching this episode of What's the Vision. Do us a favor, if you do like this content that we created today, do go subscribe the channel What's the Vision. It'll be very helpful for us. We will keep bringing you visionaries like this in our future episode. Till then, thank you.